So we're going to record the lesson. And again, we're talking about, when we get into the trigger line looks that are favorable. And, for many of you guys have gone through the spreadsheet. This was your homework over the weekend. And um, your homework was to go in and fill out what your favorite looks are going to be and the looks that are going to cause you to take a trade. And if you go to this tab, I've already done a lot of work, and I've put a lot of pictures of my personal favorite looks. And again, I think, I've added in my other chart. I use the 90-second chart kind of as a filter. So again, when you look at the charts and going across from left to right, small triggers are down below the large triggers, and you have Fibonacci areas. Small triggers are below the large triggers, and you have Fibonacci areas. Small triggers are down and below the large triggers, and you have areas. And then when you go to the 90-second chart, which again, I like to use it. You don't have to use it. That's fine. Small triggers are down and below the large triggers. So does everybody understand that? That's my personal favorite look that generally produces high probability winning trades, which is all you really care about, right? I always ask this question, and I get the same answer every time. So I'm going to see if it's any different. If you can make $400 a day on one contract, and over the course of the next year, you get up to trading 6 contracts, would you be happy if you could make $48,000 a month? The answer is always yes. I've never had anybody say no, except for Mike, maybe, because he likes to be oppositional. But so, again, if you make more than that, that's great. But for the new users, right, most new users are happy if they can make 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 grand a month. So, again, I'm having you envision where you're going to be a year and a half from now. So, again, consistency in the application of the Fibonacci areas, right? So fibs and mid bands and 1-to-1s and high volume lines, those are the entry spots. Yes, Philip, $48,000 a month or more. Would you be happy? So I asked myself a question, and look, this is a very simple question. Why do the new users not see it so obvious, right? Everybody sees it after it's over, but why do they not see it while it's happening? So, and the answer is there's too much stuff going on. And I want to show you the difference between these two 5-1 charts. This is the 5-1 chart that you guys have. And it's plotting the background based on the triggers on the 5-1 chart only. You guys understand that? So, I mean, legitimately, whenever it's only using these two triggers. So when these small triggers are below the large triggers, it turns red. And when the small triggers are above the large triggers, it turns green. So what I did, and again, this is a never-ending quest to try to make it easy for new people. There's a program which we used it a lot in the past. And some of you guys are familiar with this. If you've been around for 100 years with Nexgen, you're familiar with it. But there's a program called Bloodhound Ultimate. And if you're not familiar with it, here's the link. By the way, it's like $300 off this week. So if you get froggy and want to do something, but I'm going to show you how this thing works. And, this is a really good tool for visualization. And I use it for visualization. Believe it or not, every single one of you that has our software installed already has the Bloodhound template. in your installation. You probably didn't know it because we didn't talk about it. But every one of you has a 5.1 Trend Trades Bloodhound template. I did update it. The installer on the website actually has the updated version, but it's pretty much the same damn thing as what it was in 2019, which was the last time I did this seminar. But what this program does, it's a visualization tool. And look, I'll show it to you. And you're going to really understand how simple this is, okay? This tool allows you to paint the background colors based on conditions, right? So whenever and again, look, I want to go through our rules and I want to go through this so you can see the visualization. Is everybody okay with this? So what this does is it takes a 13.2 trigger, and the rules for it are pretty simple. Watch. It uses the small trigger line, right? So I'm using the small trigger line value, which is the fast one, right? Everybody knows that. And I'm saying if it crosses above or below the large triggers, which is what causes our background to turn red or green. So again, I just don't want this to confuse anybody. And I want to make sure that I'm going through each step really, really simply. So on a 13.2 chart or a 5.1 chart, if the small trigger breaks above the large trigger slower moving average, it turns green. Everybody okay with that? If the small triggers cross below the large trigger, it turns red. So that's what causes red and green on any one individual chart. So what I did is I put this as a rule for the 13.2 chart in our little thing here. And the next one that I did, which is a rule for our trend trades, remember inside of the trend trade material, let me go back, I'll show you the rules. It never hurts to see the rules, right? So, again, trigger reading, entry techniques, trend trade rules. I mean, there's, everything's, I think I lost a page on here. Oh, I'm on an easy one. Sorry. So, trend trade rules simply say that if the 13.2 triggers are crossed up, right, that's the whole large chart, triggers crossed up or down, and then don't run into an area and then check to see where your mid-bands, fibs, and triggers come together on the 5.1 chart. That's the short version of the rules. So in this little program, I said, look, I need to have at least a green 13.2 chart to go long. And I need to have at least a red 13.2 chart to go short. Everybody okay with this one rule? Triggers crossed above or below the large. Now, the second rule is very simple. You really don't need me to explain this, I hope. Small triggers are crossed up or down. That's it. So they have to be on the correct side of the large triggers. And the 13.2 triggers have to be crossed up or down. If anybody has any questions, you can stop me now, please. Okay? Just interrupt. Don't think of this as a sermon. Please feel free to interrupt if you have a question, because I don't want anything to be unanswered here. Now, the next one that I did is the 5.1 chart, large triggers crossed up or down. So quite simply, if the large triggers are crossed down, which is true right here, right? These are the large triggers and they're crossed down. That would be the rule. So crossed up is a rule or crossed down is a rule. Is everybody okay with that rule? Pretty simple, right? So again, individual pieces. The next rule that I have in trigger line reading, I don't use a 21-3 chart for 5-1 trend trades, Ed. I've been saying that for 20 years and it's still true. All right, so no 21-3 chart. So 13-2 triggers, the chart's red or green. 13-2 small triggers crossed up or down. 5-1 large triggers crossed up or down. And then 8 range large triggers crossed up or down. And then this is the one right here, which again, it's a little bit different, but I want you guys to be able to visualize this one. So here's the text for it. Hopefully the text is pretty easy enough. The 5-1 small trigger average has to be above or below the large trigger average. So what does that mean? Well, let me visualize it for you real quick, okay? It means that the small triggers have to be below the large triggers in order to do a trend trade. Everybody understand that? The small triggers can't get above the large triggers if you're going to do a trend trade. Pretty easy, right? So look, this is a whole bunch of very, very simple, easy components. Everybody okay with this so far? If you have questions, please speak up because this is very, 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 very important. So to summarize the entire shebang here, you ready? 13-2 small triggers above or below the large. 13-2 triggers crossed up or down. The 5-1 large triggers crossed up or down, along with the 8 range large triggers. And then the small triggers have to remain on the correct side of the 5-1 large triggers. Everybody cool with this so far? Now, you can plug all these things in and you can see what the results are. So literally when I go to a chart, this isn't it. Let me show you. Watch, we can actually turn on or off these little things very simply. Watch. I can literally just click on the X. And this is why this is such a great visualization tool. So now it's only going to plot when the 13-2 small triggers are above or below the large. So if they're above, it'll plot green. If they're below, it'll plot red from a 13-2 chart. Everybody understand that? So that's just one rule, but it's visualized on the chart very easily. So if the 13-2 remains red, this thing will remain red. And if the 13-2 turns green, this will turn green. Everybody cool with that? Now, that's just one rule. We don't want just one rule. We want all the rules. So watch this. Let me show you. If we have the 13-2 triggers, above or below, and the 13-2 small triggers crossed in your favor, now it'll plot that. So check it out. So what happens is we start to have gaps where both rules are not true at the same time. You guys like this? Pretty cool, right? So again, all this does is visually change what it's plotting based on the conditions that we put into it. And yes, you guys have this template. It's in the installers. You don't have Bloodhound. You have to get a Bloodhound program. You can't do this without a Bloodhound program. So if you want a demo of it, just sign up for a demo with these guys. Jeremy Tang, we used to work together a lot. He's really one of the very good guys in this business. I've done a lot with him, and I vouch for him 100%. And if you can save $300 on this, $500. It's a good tool just to play around with. But I'm going to show you some more, so don't give up on me yet here. So look, I'm going to plug back in all of these things. Everybody okay with this? Everybody in the software business is always working on an upgrade forever and ever and ever. It never ends, Lynn, just so you know. There's no such thing as done. Nobody's ever finished. All right. Did they? Cool. This is the old version that I've had for years and years and years, so I don't use it very often, but sometimes when I get a bright idea, I like to visualize it. So, again, look, you guys now have seen from me what? You guys have seen, I've made a declaration and I told you what my favorite looks are, right? And in making this declaration, you guys have seen that I use a 90-second charge, and I don't like to do trend trades when these triggers don't agree. So I wanted to visualize it, right? And I spent 20 hours, 20 over the holiday weekend on this. So what I said to myself was, what are the rules for the 90-second triggers? And I simplified it into 2 simple rules for myself. Same rule as the other charge, that the small triggers have to be on the correct side of the large. And then I have an or condition, because sometimes these things get, you get a really parabolic move in one direction or the other, a big, strong, supersized move that skews the triggers that, we don't get the skew on the dynamic Renko bars. But when you use a time-based chart, if it moves 50 ticks in 3 minutes, it's going to blow everything out of the water. So I added in a second condition for myself that simply said, if the small triggers are on the correct side, which is the preferable use, right? Small triggers on the correct side of the large, or the small triggers are crossed in my favor. And I've done a lot of study on this, and I feel very comfortable with this rule. But look, small triggers crossed up or down. Everybody understands that, right? I don't have to explain it. Small triggers crossed up or down. So I plugged this into the formula, and now I ended up with, this is basically every trigger on every chart agrees with doing a trend trade. Everybody cool with this? So what you're going to find when you look at your chart, again, look, we'll go back to the beginning of the day a little bit. What you're going to find is, there's so much overnight action, but when every trigger on every chart agrees, you usually get a trend trade that works. Till you hit a termination condition. I'm not going to go into termination conditions. You can't go brain dead and forget about all the other stuff we teach, right? If there's one-to-ones and pivot stop outs on large charts, you can't do trend trade longs. So I don't want to go into that too much, but everybody understands that, right? If there's a reason on your large chart why you're not going to do it, you're not going to do it. So anyway, I was watching this and I said, look, trend trades from the mid band with all the triggers working. And then what happens when, when things fade out, right? It's not that you can't do another trade, right? We talked about this morning. You're going to have to think about your trade a little bit more, right? You're going to have to justify why you're doing one more trade because of XYZ factor. Strong trends, you get this extra trade a lot, right? We saw another one earlier. And I spent countless hours studying what happens when you have a divergence when all triggers don't line up. Which again, on our normal chart, this background would be green, right? But I think that's, look, let me show you that same spot on our normal template, just to be fair. right? This is what you guys see on our normal template. And it's not a long trade, but it's a good spot to manage your short if you were short. And what I found is that people get confused when there's always a color on the chart, because you always think that there's something to do when there's not really always something to do, right? So this is my thought on this. And again, I think the management becomes visually very easy when you have a divergence and the wrong no color background. You guys can study this, but you're going to be like, damn, it calls the turn damn near every time. And again, the same rules are going to apply for what we do. If you go long and you get a lower divergence, you still have to get out, right? So again, we're not going into management rules here, but and again, when things all agree, you have to go back and kind of study it and say, what happened. And the more you do this, the more you realize that when every trigger agrees, you end up with quite a few trend trades that work out pretty well. So is everybody cool with this so far? And again, I think that the visual on this is maybe there's something to do, and then maybe there's not something to do. And again, management, when you lose the background color, meaning some trigger on some chart said no more, usually works out really well. Not saying, look, if it's a termination and a bottom and you do a high volume trade, or, I'm not discounting other trades. I'm only trying to highlight when everything is in your favor for a trend trade. And more specifically, every freaking trigger on every chart, even my little 90-second chart, which, look, you may turn that off because it will make you miss a bunch of trades. So you have to do the determination on whether or not this is something that's beneficial for you or not. Now, the next question is what? The natural next question, they have a little backtesting strategy called the Raven, which allows you to put in the template that paints the background color. Let me do this so it's very, very quick. Now, it's going to be important for you guys to understand something. And I want everybody to say yes, and I'll just wait for everybody to say yes. You are not getting an automated trading system. Get the thought out of your head. You will not have an automated trading system. Get it out of your head now. I'm serious. I'm not wrong. I promise. You will not have an automated trading system. You will not have an automated trading system. And what I'm going to show you is hypothetical BS. But for those of you that have been around me for 20 years, you're going to know it's pretty damn close. But for new people, this is going to be so effing ridiculous that you're going to be like, damn, I'm just going to go brain dead and do this. No, you cannot go brain dead. You cannot ignore termination conditions. I've spent 20 years making sure that you guys have everything you need to do it the best way possible. You will not ever have an automated trading system that can do what we do. I won't write it and you won't get it. So, everybody cool? Am I dramatic enough on this? Now, I'm going to show it to you anyway, but it's, again, this is just for educational purposes. So what I did is I took the 5-1 trend trades template. And I basically said, stay in as long as you can until there's a reversal bar after a signal. Everybody cool with that? Short version. Now, I want to show you the code portion of it so you can see. So look, in the code portion, it's the same as the background plots. with a small addition. So I know you guys are going to find this fascinating and be totally shocked by this, but I added in 5-1 fibs as an area, 5-1 mid bands as an area, 5-1 1-to-1s as an area, or large triggers that are very strong as an area. So, and then because there's no other way to do entries with this thing, you have to have a reversal bar as you're kind of kicking the ass to go, right? I mean, you have to have a trigger that gets you in. Everybody okay with this? So think about what I'm telling you here, okay? All the triggers agree on every chart that you own, and you pull back to the mid-bands, fibs, 1-to-1s, and then you get a reversal bar. I know it sounds like an automated system. You will never, ever, ever have an automated system from me, ever. And these are all hypothetical performance results. But again, there's some interesting things that come out of hypothetical results. So I want to show you. Look, I'll make it go back 30 days. I'd like to think of it as the holy grail if you took every tick and got every perfect fill on the planet, which is impossible. While this is calculating, you will never, ever, ever, ever have an automated system from Nexgen. Get it out of your head. Again, this is hypothetical bullshit performance. You're not going to make this much money. Some of the fill, never, ever. Am I not being clear enough on that, Chris? Ever will I give you an automated system. Ever. If I ever take the time to truly automate everything that we know, I will never give it to anybody. I may do it one day if I get bored, but I'm not bored yet. But I would never give it to anybody. So, like I said, you'll never get one. Not from me. Now, automating some of the plots using this Bloodhound thing is pretty cool. Because, again, look, here, let me turn this off so it doesn't do any signals. I want you to, no, my brother will get one. I want you guys to see this. Here, look. That is not 30 days worth of data. Okay, so look, here's what this thing did, okay? Just to get, can you guys see this? Okay, I know it's squished up, but I wanted to give you the magnitude of this thing. This is every trigger in your favor, and every time you pull back to the mid bands, fibs, or 1-to-1s, it's going to generate a trend trade. Now, would you take it? Would you not take it? I don't know. Looking at the chart and knowing what I know, this is probably a trend trade you would take, and this one probably isn't. Because I also use the large triggers in a strong trend kind of momentum style, but you guys aren't going to do that one. Janesh does those, but you're not going to do them. And again, look, I want you to see this. This is the really hard part for new traders. Most of the time, you will not have something to do because something doesn't line up. And what happens is when we paint the background with our indicators on the 5-1 chart, they never go blank. So new traders, this is where I think, again, look, you guys give me feedback on this because I think this is something that I've spent a lot of time thinking about. Why do the new traders always want to do 52 trades a day? It's because there always seems like there's something to do because there's no break, right? I mean, and you have to try to discern where the easy money is based on all the charts. In real time going forward, looking at all of the charts is not that difficult because you see it in real time and you're saying, oh, okay, triggers down, triggers down, triggers down, triggers down, do a trade, right? So again, hypothetical, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to say it again, but the trick is to eliminate the places where everything doesn't line up. I'm not saying that you can't do other trades like high volume area trades or stuff like that, but I want you guys in the beginning to say trend trades and trend trades only. Everybody okay with that? Now, I'm still going to do it one more time before I show you the freaking numbers, just because I'm going on an overabundance of caution going into the holiday spirit. Okay. I'm going to show you the historical performance on this for 30 days. And again, everybody understands the rules, right? All the triggers on all your charts agree. Mid bands, fibs, or 1-to-1s, and a reversal bar. So everybody understands the logic, right? And it's easy when you see it. You're like, damn, there it is, right? So here is the 30-day, if everything was perfect in the whole wide world, which it will never be, performance. Just to give you an idea. $57,000 on one contract. 85% winners. When you break it down on a daily basis, not a losing day. Some days, look, Friday was worth 8,600. Last night's overnight session was worth 2,600. And today's session was worth 3,400 a contract. Now, you're never, ever, ever, ever going to make all of that because you didn't do 38 trades today so far. But it's running at 92% today. That's pretty freaking good, right? So, again, we can go in and look at the trades, and you're not going to do them all, of course, which here comes one, it looks like. But again, this is where the winning percentage, has a little bit of twist to it. Again, this is not a perfect program. Here, I'm trying to get back to the beginning of the day here. What I like to do is I like to look at the trades and say, would I really take this or not? And would I really exit or not? And again, look, this performance for that much money has you going short right here. I think I could get on board with that, don't you? But here's the problem. It doesn't wait until it gets down to, well, this last one did finally. So it's doing 1, 2, 3 trades in here instead of just one trade and relaxing. And again, these dynamic Renko bars are going to give you some janky fills. You're not going to get real fills, right? The idea behind what we teach is that you're getting in over here on the way up because you believe it, not on the way down. So hopefully there's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 extra ticks you can get. And again, as you work your way through this, right, you have to ask yourself a simple question. Why the hell did it miss that, first of all? Right? I mean, it missed one that looks obvious to me, but I don't know. This code, sometimes it's not perfect. So that missed, in my opinion. And then there was our little management we were just talking about where the colors don't match and then there's no trades. And then by the time it got up here, no trades. Let's see where it finally did another trade. So look how good this system is. It went short right here and it got out right there and it would have made all that money, but it sucks at management because it doesn't have a lot of management written into it. Anyway, there was maybe a little more opportunity for some money in there. Yeah, right, Philip. But look, would you or could you have taken that trade with every trigger going in your favor? I think the answer is yes. All right, so let's roll forward and just look at a couple of them. Does this look familiar to you guys? I had a circle on it, so I guess it looks familiar, but does it look familiar? I think it looks familiar. So, again, could you have maybe done better? Again, this one's a little bit loose. Could you have exited better? Maybe. Would you go long after diversions from a fib? Probably not. So, again, there's a lot of wiggle room in here on what you would really do or not do. But just to give you a general sense of what it does when all of the triggers, midbands, and fibs come together. And again, you'll see, I think all of the trend trades are going to look eerily familiar to you. It looks like it missed another one right there. I don't know why. I mean, I didn't try to perfect the code because I'm not trying to make a system. And again, this is the difference between this thing and what you guys are doing. Again, would you have gone long after 5 red fibs and divergence? I would hope not. I hope not. If you did, we'd have a conversation about it, right? So there's a lot of these trades that you wouldn't do, of course. Another divergence after a fib. And then it went eventually. What do you guys think? Here's the hard part for new traders. Why did we not go short right here? And I think this is the part that gets the new traders. Was every trigger line crossed down here? And the answer is no, it wasn't. Now, could you have gone short? Sure. Could you have traded a high volume line short here? Sure. But if your plan says, and I don't know what your plan says, but if you make a plan and you say what your personal trade setups are going to be, if they happen to include every chart and every trigger has to agree, most of the time you're not going to be trading. You're going to be waiting. And I go back to my original statement is, would you rather have this much money or would you rather keep busy? I can't answer that question for you, but wouldn't you rather have 85% winners or would you rather have a lot more trades? And then I get pictures like this from traders and they're trying to go long and they're asking me what the hell is going wrong and why aren't they winning? And with the exception of the Fiend, and this is the look, I'm going to share the magic secret with you right now. You ready? If you trade what you think might happen instead of what's actually happening, you're going to suck at day trading. So look, and again, look, I'm being very, very serious about this. This trader thought it was going up. And they said it should go up, which is not wrong, but they were going, look, they were going long and the triggers were crossed down. You see it? If you go long when the triggers are down and the market goes down, it's like, really? And then after here's the problem, right? They didn't want to wait until every trigger was up because they felt like they needed to catch the bottom. And instead, they were the bottom. Literally. You don't have to catch the bottom or be the bottom to make money. You have to win and you have to be right. So look at right here. See how everything's going up strong? And I would guess it's going up strong on the other charts. If they would have waited for every trigger to go up, I bet you $50 they could have made some money. It's actually 100% guaranteed you could have made money. So what is it in a trader that says, I got to be the bottom, so I'm going to go early when all the triggers don't agree? So this is the point of what I've done with this. And again, look, this was one from this morning. And if you waited for all the charts to agree, you didn't take a short trade and you didn't take a loss. If you're only staring at the 5-1 chart, you probably took a trade and took a loss at 9 o'clock. Maybe not, but you get my point on this, right? We're asking you to visualize this when what you're really seeing is this. I think this is where some of the new traders have so much of a problem. We're asking you to visualize something that takes a lot of practice to see the multiple charts at the same time. So what do you guys think about this? I mean, I kind of had the epiphany. It's like plot when they all line up, and then you won't have to be frustrated when people don't see it. Now, I have not written this into my code yet. If you guys have the Bloodhound and want to test this out, you can. If you don't have the Bloodhound, they'll do a demo for you, 30-day demo actually. So let me see. Here, I'll give you a link. If you guys want to play with it, you can. Philip, in my version, the answer is yes. As far as the performance goes, it doesn't change too much historically, but it does eliminate some of the trades. Anyway, look, we're asking you to envision this, but you're seeing red. And look, this is, and again, look, this is why when everybody looks at a chart, it makes sense. You're like, oh, yeah, I see it. Every chart, every trigger agrees. And we're asking you to do this, but, again, to do only when they all agree. I think it's going to be easier when it's plotted. I'm working on things. It's, I have to test stuff out like this 90-second chart triggers. I've tested that for months and months and months and months before I even talked about it. And look, it helps in most cases. Sometimes it will cost you a trade. So you're going to have to decide when are you going to override if you're going to fight a chart, right? And again, that takes thought, that takes time, that takes, education and training and additional education. And, Cindy's doing a really good job of only taking trend trades when all the triggers agree. She's naturally inclined to seeing the right trades. And she's like, I'm making $1,000 a contract a day, just starting back again with software. So she's naturally seeing what we're teaching. And for those of you guys that are struggling to see all the charts at the same time, I think this could be helpful for you. Now, did I tell you it's not going to be an automated system ever and that those performance results are hypothetical? Just need to say it again. And again, look, the historical on this is pretty freaking awesome, right? So, what I would say is in a perfect world, if you stayed up doing below all night long and you could trade 24/7 for an entire month and be perfect, which is not going to happen, right? So, realistically, if you could make a look, if you could make 10% of this and make $6,000 a month a contract, or 12% of it, that's what we're talking about here, guys. You only have to make 12% of what's available to make $8,000 a month a contract. So again, while this is really nice and you look at it, look, you look at the graph on this. Look, this is the graph. And it's hypothetical, yes, but is it really, are you capable, not this to this magnitude, of course, but are you capable of making money damn near every day? And again, look, it's interesting when you go down to the daily. When you look at the money, I thought it was interesting anyway. Halloween day was almost a break even day, as was Thanksgiving, which didn't really surprise me. And the day before Thanksgiving was really bad too, for the holiday broke. But most days, look, Friday there was 8,600. Last night there was 2,600. Today we're at 3,400. There's a lot of freaking potential in there, and you don't have to get it all. You just need a piece of it. So when you look at your chart, is there, can you get a piece? Right. Now, look, you go back to the other things like in our plan, like if you have divergence, you need a market flow signal. So, I can't account whether or not you had a market flow signal at the spot to get you in or not. If you did, you had a loser. If you didn't, you didn't. And then you do the same thing over here. If you had a market flow signal to get you in, you probably had a winner. And then if you break fibs, can you go long again? And then after you have 3 divergences, you can't. That's obvious. Anyway, after 3 divergences, you're not going long anymore, right? For the moment. Now, I did more studying on this, which I thought was very interesting. And I said to myself, so look, I went back here. Here, I'll turn the system stuff off, but I said to myself, I was going through, and again, I'm a pattern person, so I love patterns, but I was like, man, it was going down so nice, and then it went back up, but the colors didn't change. And, for our edge traders, this is where the edge traders probably do shorts. And I found something also that I thought was very interesting. If you have a divergence in the direction of the prior trend, it almost always resumes the trend. So think about what I'm saying here. If the trend was down strong and it went a little too far for a trend trade, but then you had continuation, it just seems like the divergence always starts the continuation. I found it interesting, and I studied it and I studied it. And, the other thing is termination conditions are good. And then when you have this blank space, this is that green background divergence that goes the other way that ends the trend. But looking at it in a vacuum, I'm like, all right, what ends the trend? 3 divergences, higher divergence. And then, we get trend trades after it, right? If it stop out, it goes down further. Then you get trend trade long. Would you do it? Would you not do it? This is always the question, right? If you were in this in a live market, would you go long? Or would you miss it? And then you have to start thinking about entry logic and stop logic and where would you get in and why would you get in? How strong were the triggers? Maybe you miss it. Notice after a strong run up, we do bounce, but what happens? The triggers don't agree anymore, do they? So when all the triggers don't agree, what normally happens when you have divergence going the other way? I studied it for 20 hours over the weekend. And I found, some interesting things like I already knew, but just the visual of it is so, sharp. And you'll see it over and over and over again. I mean, here's the part that I want you to really think about. There is an awful lot of time, Ed, this kicks your ass, where there's just nothing to do and nothing to think about because everything doesn't agree. So look, I want you to answer, a couple of questions. Number one, right? And again, we go through this all the time. What are the fib and trigger line looks when it's okay to trade and when it's not? if you don't define this one thing for yourself, and I know I harp on this a lot, but if you don't define what your look is going to be, you're going to flounder around. So that's why I put this blank space in here and gave you guys the homework over the long weekend. You have to get your look down. And you can look at mine. I'm fine. Look at mine. If you take inspiration, I'm totally cool with it. I could tell everybody what the perfect trade is, and only the people who practice taking the perfect trade are going to actually be able to execute it. Everybody else is going to say, wow, that looks fantastic. I should have done it. Only the people who practice executing perfect trades and nothing else are the ones who end up doing perfect trades and nothing else. You can't watch TV and get it. You can't watch this video and get it. You have to actually see it. You have to replay it. You have to do it. You have to do it thousands of times, and then it will become second nature. And not until. Buying software only gives you the advantage. Having the skill to exercise the advantage takes time. All of you new people hear that? I can give you the answer and I can give you the perfect trade and I can tell you what it is and I can tell you how to do it. But until you spend a couple of months actually executing it, it looks really great, but you're not quite there yet. You will get over that feeling the minute you make a decision to only do perfect trades. Guaranteed. When you allow yourself to do crazy trades that don't have everything going in your favor, you're going to mess up. So, again, I think the big portion, the big takeaway is we're asking you to see this when you actually see this. And again, look, some people go the other way first, or take it and then manage it and do lots of different things for different reasons. Once you actually say, my look is and my triggers have to be, then you will only see the right trades. When you do not make a declaration of what the look has to be, you will flounder around. Do you guys believe me? I hope you believe me. If you're only looking at one chart trying to figure it out, you're missing the boat. If you take into account all of the charts, you're going to skip all of these losers. Simulate, simplify, post in pictures, get feedback, and then go fix your mistakes doing replay. Only after you guarantee yourself you can win trading the correct look should you even try live money. The world is littered with people who think they're going to try real money without actually having a perfect plan and perfect execution and having spent the time. The world is littered with 90% losers because they won't slow down and do it right. You guys truly have the best education, the best software, and the best advantages at your fingertips. Don't mess them up by trading live money before it's time, please. Could you have gone short? Sure, you could have. Why would you have? Right? So if we look at all of our charts, I want you to see where you're going to get frustrated as hell. And I want you to see what happens. Look, watch. This is where you go, goddamn 90 chart. So look, if I take out, look, the reason it didn't give red background is because this was the 90-second chart. That's a bullish trigger, yes? Everybody agree? That's a bullish trigger. So if I just eliminate it from the plot, watch, click. Now it's red. So what's right for you, that's for you to say, right? Because if you went short there, it's a pretty damn good short. So, again, when you start to incorporate more triggers, more rules, and more things of that nature, right? So I'll go back and add it back in. 90-second triggers added in. Now the background color will plot it. It's not a trade, or it's not red. Now, could you override this and say, I'll do it anyway because what? Right? I mean, was a nice look, right? So it just wasn't red. It's just fine. Now we have double divergence, so it's going to take out the high, right? You guys know that. We've been through that enough, right? Double divergence, pivot stop out, it's going to take out the high. When it does, the triggers aren't going to all match. So look, instead of not taking it, look at it from this perspective. I'll take it, but if I turn up into a spot that might cause trouble, I'll just take my profit. So think about your rules in your trading plan. If the 90-second triggers are against me, will I take the short and manage it differently on the 5-1 chart? Or will I just not do the short at all? Because it is a damn fine short, but the 90-second chart made the management terminate the trend. See that? The bullish triggers here made the 5-1 short trade short-lived. How consistent is that? How are you going to know unless you actually spend time studying it? So look, this is what you guys had, right? Which is not wrong. If you went short or you went short again, I'm cool with it. But look, this is where the management kicks in. Do you manage and then should you go short again, right? Obviously, you can see it's green. So is it going to go down? Right? This is where the high volume line on this chart is also probably going to make it bounce a little bit. Do you use that as part of your trading plan? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. So the large triggers made it bounce up. Coincidence? The high volume area made it bounce down. Coincidence? I think not. Do you do high volume trades in your life? Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. If you're only doing ultra high probability trend trades, life is easy. Just wait for every chart and every trigger to agree, and you won't have to ask yourself any crazy questions like, should I be going short? All right, Daniel, let's take a peek. All right. So you did take that short and you opted to take money quickly. All right. Cool. Daniel, since you put it out there, I'm going to throw it out there. You let me have it if you don't like it. You went short with all of your trigger lines going up and you got your ass kicked. And you went short with all your triggers going down and you made money. I don't know how much more obvious I can make this, but you were thinking something might happen instead of reading what's actually happening. I see everything, Daniel. I know what you were thinking, and I know why you're thinking it, and it's that nasty freaking poison that causes you and every other freaking person on the planet to lose their ass. You think it's going to be a bottom, so you don't want to miss it. You get in, you lose, and then it is a bottom. You think it's going to be a top. And instead of waiting for it to actually be a top, which it eventually was, and taking the easy money, you wanted to be first. It's the poison that makes most day traders lose their ass. Now, I want to be first instead of I want to be right. Daniel, there was more than that. Yeah, but there was a lot, wasn't there? There was so many trades, it was sickening. All right, Carl, let's take a look. Every trigger line's going up, and you went long and you made money. What a coincidence. Entry may have been a smidge early. I like it a little more inside the large triggers, but whatever. Hard to beat a man up over a big win. All right. All right, let me digest all of this. So I'm just going to look at the triggers first. Triggers down, triggers down, triggers down, and you made a bunch of money without having to read too far into it, Carl, or Jason, sorry. You had a top, triggers are down, triggers are down, triggers are down, and you made a bunch of money. Congratulations. It's hard not to want to be first. Yeah. Grant, you've seen what, 82.7% winners on trend trades for a long time, but you've always traded with all the triggers. And you're very patient and you don't care if you just sit there for a while. Patience is the hard part, guys. And again, look, I did this same video and the same lesson that we're doing today with this, the same program in 2019. So don't go, oh, he came up with some new magical stuff. This is regurgitating a 2019-year-old plan. I probably did it before 2019 too, but the last time I did it was 2019. What else can I say except for jumping up and down and doing the potty dance to just trade with the triggers? What else can I do? I know some of you guys may want to tinker with this. This is actually this template, the background as well as the 5-1 trend trade template is actually in your installers, by the way. I did update them today, but I've had the 5-1 trend trade template in there since 2019. We just don't use it, but it's a good lesson to kind of break out and show you the mechanics of how things work. Yeah, and look, you don't have to get all the trades, you just need a couple. And you have to resign yourself to just sitting there and waiting for everything to be perfect. And it's hard because there's a lot of blinky lights and colors and things like that. So again, I don't have, other than this Bloodhound version, something. But if you're a trend trader and you truly just wait for trend trades and wait for everything to line up really, really perfectly, areas, direction, no termination, all the good stuff we say, there are plenty of 10 and 20 tick trades in there that you can just tear into. And if you miss one because something wasn't quite right, it's okay. If you take a loser, it's okay. There's 100 trades coming. It's hard because, man, my internet is, oh, let's see. He's strung that together. It's hard because this is what everybody sees. the money box. And there's no way you can grab all the money, and they know it. That's why they put you in the money box. That's what the market is, the money box. Anyway, it's funny. So look, you have to learn to decipher when it's not 100% advantageous. So you can see why it's not, right? Small triggers are up, so trend trade shorts are out. I mean, that's enough, right? But are we still going to go down? Kind of looks that way, but we'll see. I haven't got that far. Can you probably have to run updated here? You probably have to run updated charts and templates off of the website. But I made your life even easier, guys, if you run the workspace or the installer from the look. If you run the installer from the website, just here's my thought. Ken, listen to this. When it tells you, do you want to load NinjaTrader, uncheck it because you don't need to install NinjaTrader again. It actually asks you if you want to install. You don't have to install Ninja 7 again. And then once you actually run, I need to change that date. I was just running behind this morning. 5 days to get ready, and I'm running behind. But this installer is new. Here, you can just download it by clicking that. I made it easy, and I made a workspace. Let me make sure I put it in the installer. Yeah. Since you guys are here, I'm going to make your life easy. Bear with me 2 seconds. I'll give you a workspace with it already made in it. And then you can go make your own templates and stuff like that, okay? This is the workspace that we have going right now. So you can run this workspace. There. That's a Ninja 7 workspace, by the way. Ninja 7 workspace. It's called, I don't even know what it's called. Hang on. I called it Nexgen trend trade background. So if you do load Bloodhound and you just open, you have to run this installer because you have to have all the chart templates and Bloodhound templates. So run the installer. And then after you do that, you should be able to open the workspace if you have Bloodhound loaded. And then Jason's going to hate the crap out of me today. Because I'm pretty sure he is not ready for Bloodhound tech support. If you need Bloodhound tech support, timeout. Go to Bloodhound's support page. Again, I don't want to have to do tech support for their product. So first read the directions. It's a crazy thought I had, but just read the directions first and watch some of the videos and read how to do things first. They have an installation and setup. They have creating a basic system, which I already did for you. Anyway, please don't make me do all the Bloodhound tech support. That's the only thing I ask, okay? And it's damn near half price right now. It's just a coincidence that they have their sale going. You know, I use this tool to visualize things for myself personally, and I don't really share that with everybody. But, you know, when I spend 4 months working on something and showing you a different trigger line, I've put a lot of time into it. And you don't have to use it, right? You're under no obligation. Pick your own trade, do what feels best for you, do what makes you comfortable. It's the most important thing in this business. Why would you do that, Sam? This is a new workspace I put in there. Before you actually do something, answer the question on why you're doing it. Why would you delete all the other workspaces? And if you say, I have no idea, then don't. You know what mama says, when in doubt, don't. So I think that's that rule. All right. So I will open it up for questions for you guys. And no, you won't be getting an automated system. There's a checkbox, Jerry, when NinjaTrader comes up to not install it. Worst case scenario, if you have to install it, it's not going to hurt anything. But you do have to close your NinjaTrader down to do it. Let me see if I can find a picture. Look, there's a little picture that looks like this. Jerry, just uncheck it when it's going through the installer, and then it won't actually install Ninja. And if it does install it, it's not going to kill anything. But all right, they are battling in here. Again, isn't this easy? All the triggers on all the charts don't agree. So it could go up, it could go down. Isn't that easy? Feels easy to me. I don't know. Still think it's going down. Traditionally, you know, I lean towards resistance with large triggers down as a down look, right? I would say it's leaning down and probably going down. And again, my other bias kind of comes from this chart a little bit. So I see 95 as a resistance that is going to cause a lot of trouble. Now, is it a trend trade short? No. Right? The triggers are crossed up. So the answer is no. Right? And you see what I'm talking about? How people think, oh, it's up, it's down, it could go up. There's a lot of stuff going on, and not everybody agrees. I don't know. I like the concept. I've looked at it a lot. I spent over 20 hours over the holiday with this. And if you take into account all the termination conditions, the proper management, the entry rules, and everything that we teach you in the material, and all the triggers are going your way, if you find yourself losing, speak up, because you're not doing something right. We'll fix you. Again, you guys understand my thought on this, right? Leaning to the downside. Do you understand when I say those words? Pretty straightforward. And again, look, for me specifically, I'm a big fan of high volume lines when the triggers are going down. I don't know, call me sentimental or crazy, but at resistance with high volume lines with the triggers going down, I tend to lean to the downside. Anyway. Hmm. Are you guys happy? Any questions? Anything that you guys would like to go over? I'm sure you have some questions. If you have them, now's a good time. Feel free to put them in. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, and look, I didn't say anything that we don't normally say on a normal day, do we? Fibs, triggers all agree. Usually you end up with a trade. Most of the time they win. If you have a high volume line, it helps. Like 70, 77 right now live. So look, we can say all the triggers agreed, and we had a mid band, a high volume line at our triggers. The only thing we don't know is how far is it going to go, right? We tend to think it's going to make it down to Fibonacci support. So you don't know for sure, but what do you think? Pretty cool. Fibs held, all the triggers agreed, and you guys got a short trade. Does it seem too easy? After all that mess, once all the triggers agreed, you got a little something. It's only not easy if you don't make a declaration, guys. I'm so sorry that I have to do this one more time, but you have to make a commitment. Look, one or two trades, and you have to simplify them, and you have to declare that they're yours. Until you commit to this line right here, what looks like you're going to commit to, you're just floundering around. So again, this is the visual representation of all the triggers agree. It doesn't look any different than this, does it? I mean, this is what you guys have right now. Is there any difference? I don't think so. But you have to learn to ignore all of this stuff. That's the hard part. This is where the new traders have trouble. And I think this is a pretty good lesson for the new traders. Again, you just have to look at all four charts and say, do my triggers agree? This is a visual representation of what you should be looking at. All right, Jason, let's see what you got. All right. Jason, textbook, 20 ticks. Awesome. Nice job. Waiting is the hardest part, guys. Amen. If everybody would just do what I teach, it would be pretty cool. Look, I am 1000% certain that it works. It's just getting everybody to see and do the right thing. That's the hard part. All right, divergence on the bottom. You're going to wait for a market flow signal, right? Kind of thing. If the triggers cross over, you better be, look, see how these triggers crossed over right here? That was one of our rules. So it's not a high probability trend trade anymore. You see that? That was one of our rules. So when that happens, right, you have to then say, should I still go short? But you're not doing trend trades. You're no longer doing trend trades at this point. What kind of trade are you doing? Why are you doing it? What are the rules for it? Should you be doing it? Right? It's a pivot stop out trade, basically. Right? So how do you do pivot stop out trades at a prior divergence high? Or do you not do them at all when the triggers are going up? Do you guys see how simple this is? Would you go short with these triggers going up? Not if you're a trend trader. So look, this right here is the same visualization as this right here. So look, this picked up the same thing. It said, hey, all the triggers don't agree anymore. Now it didn't go green, that's the difference, but do you go short when all the triggers don't agree? Now we have a lot of disagreements, don't we? The 21-3, the 13-2 triggers are above the large. The small triggers are above the large. Small triggers are above the large. Let's look at our 90-second chart. Still pretty bearish right there, huh? Do you do an edge trade? If you're not an edge trader, then you don't do edge trades. If you're an edge trader, that's pretty advantageous for an edge trade, in my opinion. Have to look at a 21-3 chart, but I mean, if you're into that whole fibs and triggers all going your way thing at the same spot, right? I mean, if you're into that, high volume lines or fibs and triggers all coming together, or like we said, there was a little 5-1 trend trade in there too for 20 ticks. So you can do high volume trades, you can do trend trades, you can do edge trades, you can do whatever the hell you want. But you better make a declaration of what they are, what the look is, when you'll do them, when you won't do them. And for the love of God, start off with easy 5-1 trend trades when everything are going your way. It's the easiest of all things that we do. And when everything's not going your way, just don't worry about it. Let the fancy traders get all the fancy stuff. You guys take the ducks, fish in a barrel. All right. I'm going to take a couple of minutes. I want you guys to think about questions, comments, concerns, things you guys want to go through. Here, you want to look at this? I'll leave it up if you guys want. You can use the 8-range market flow template. Those are the settings I use. 3 days back. That's all I have on that chart is 3 days back because it's very labor intensive. Ed, is this helpful for you today? Get your mind right on all those triggers. It's a lot of waiting, but it's worth the wait. Very good. All right, have a good day if you're out of here. I'm going to take a couple-minute break. I will be right back. If you need something, say something. Otherwise, I'm going to finish this recording for the room. I've said everything I wanted to say for the recording. So I will finish that. And then if you need something else, please type it in.